power movement, another unlikely place in which you'll find black conservatism, right? The Nation of Islam, another place that you see black conservative ideology bubble up. This idea of self-reliance, leading a morally chaste lifestyle, so on and so forth, right? Now, black conservatism would rise and fall through the middle of the 20th century. By the close of the civil rights era, the majority of black voters, encouraged by civil rights legislation and sustained economic relief by President Johnson's Great Society initiatives, switched to the Democratic Party, right? They all voted Democrat. And black conservatives sort of slipped under the radar. And they laid low through the 60s and 70s until the late 70s. And in fact, the defining moment was 1980. When a new breed of black conservatives emerged. There was a conference, and it was held in San Francisco at the Fairmont Hotel. The conference was organized by Ed Meese. Anybody remember Ed Meese? Yes, that Ed Meese. He was in charge of the transition team for the Reagan administration. And the Reagan administration had a new agenda for American race relations, and it did not involve working with the civil rights establishment. In fact, the Reagan administration was adamant it would not do business with the civil rights establishment and leading civil rights figures. So what did it do? It called this conference in 1980, and it attempted to identify a cadre of new black leaders that it could do business with. These were black leaders who were expected to declare their bona fides to the Republican administration, Reagan administration. And in exchange, they would be given posts within the administration. They would be given access to conservative elite think tanks and foundations to support scholarship. They would be given media access so their articles could be placed in leading journals. This was the founding moment for black neoconservatism. Now, who do you think was at this conference? Clarence Thomas was an attendee, delivered a lecture. Clarence Pendleton, some of you may remember that name, was an attendee. Thomas Sowell, remember Thomas Sowell? Thomas Sowell was an attendee. Tony Brown. Tony Brown attended and edited the proceedings of this conference. The list goes on, but what's interesting is that these figures were later joined by the likes of Glenn Loury, Shelby Steele, and then much later, John McWhorter. And these individuals would begin to provide the intellectual grist of black neoconservatism that would represent a dramatic rightward shift in black conservative thinking. But the important thing to keep in mind is that this dramatic rightward shift was the product of an effort that was primarily sustained by an array of inorganic political actors. Think tanks and research institutes and media outlets based outside the black community. These inorganic support networks, right, help these black neoconservatives legitimize their ideas, put them on the map, so to speak. And as a consequence, many of these individuals were bestowed with government largesse, private funding, and national public exposure. Now, if that were the end of the story, I'd stop there, but unfortunately it's not, because what happens is you've got this group of black intellectuals, these neoconservative intellectuals that are summarily legitimated by outsiders, designated black leaders, right? They're joined by bloggers, pundits, and even entertainers like Bill Cosby and Chris Rock, okay? And that gives a sort of organic backing to black conservatism. Now it's beginning to look authentic. At the same time, black conservatives begin to grow in national prominence. Clarence Thomas works his way up through government, ultimately is appointed to replace the late Thurgood Marshall on the Supreme Court. We follow that with the landmark appointment of Colin Powell as Secretary of State. And then the piece de resistance is the appointment of Condoleezza Rice as his successor, making her the most powerful black woman on the planet. The most powerful black woman on the planet is a conservative. So let me close with a comment about public discourse, right? I wrote this book not because I wanted to valorize the black conservative tradition or critique it to shreds. That's not the idea. The point is this. Whatever you might think of black conservatism, I want to suggest to you that it has deep historical roots and that it's not going away anytime soon. So if you care about matters of social justice and you're a liberal like me, okay, you owe it to yourself to engage with black conservatives. You've got to know where they're coming from if you want to do business. And don't take it from me, take it from Barack Obama. The most liberal senator, at least according to his voting record, is also the most ecumenical politician. He's the one talking a rhetoric of transcendence, reaching across the political aisle to embrace some of those folks who are outside of the liberal tradition. He understands if you want to do business, you've got to come to terms with the fact that the conservatives are here to stay. So, what makes conservatives attractive? What makes conservatism attractive today to people? This is something I want to leave you with. Why would somebody be attracted to conservatism? This is what you need to come to terms with if you want to have that public conversation across ideological lines. If someone wants to be an architect of their own destiny, then they're probably going to be attracted to conservatism. You can imagine a person, if they're weary of being treated as a victim, being viewed as a victim, being viewed as the perennial object of charity. If they're tired of that, then that person is probably going to be attracted to black conservatism. If you talk to someone and they start telling you about how important it is to be self-reliant, if they tell you how important it is to be able to lift yourself up, and that they view the pathway to dignity and respect as one that's worn through self-reliance, then that person is probably going to be attracted to black conservatism. If you meet someone and they tell you that they're tired of being viewed through the prism of race, that they want to be viewed as an individual, as to who they are, then chances are they're going to be attracted to conservatism. If you talk to someone and they have strong religious convictions, they believe strongly in moral values, and they don't believe in sacrificing those moral values for political aspiration, gain, or strategy, you may find that they're attracted to black conservatism too. If you meet someone with money, right? If they have wealth, if they have something to conserve, then you know they're going to be attracted to conservatism. Right? And then finally, if you find someone who doesn't like to dwell on the past but instead is focused relentlessly on making the best of their current situation, if they're not a dreamer, but they are a builder, then you may find that that person too is attracted to conservatism. The point is, as liberals, we need to be aware of who conservatives are and what are the kinds of things that attract them. And more importantly, maybe we can appreciate that even among us liberals, right, we find that we too have a little bit of conservatism within each of us. All right? So thanks for your time. I appreciate you coming out. And at this point, I'd like to open up the floor for questions, if there are any. I need you to approach the microphone. Don't be timid now. You can do it.
Well, I just wanted to see what your thoughts about this were. If it wasn't for a conservative point of view from slaves coming over here, we wouldn't have survived. And we would not have made the progress that we did. So I think that the conservative view preceded even the people who we could pinpoint historically who verbalized it, because a matter of survival and a matter of looking at what you've got to make more and become more is a conservative point of view. And we started out with nothing, and now we're looking at